Hello, my friends. And this is an article that was shared to me by Sheena Bach. And this is recently. And, of course, this is about video games. Now, why I say it's recently is because there's such a thing as the Video Game Hall of Fame. And, of course, out of the many video games that have been mentioned, only 6 are the ones that made it because they were pioneers of their time, respectfully. Now, some might say that some of the titles here should be replaced with something else. You're not wrong in that. But at the same time, you might wonder why said titles that are going to be presented are here or otherwise. So, without further ado, and of course I'll give my 2 cents about what I think about the titles and so forth as we get into this article. These 6 games just made the Video Game Hall of Fame. The Strong Natural Museum of Play named 6 games as the first inductees into its Word Video Game Hall of Fame. And here are the 6. You have Pac-Man, Pong, Doom, Tetris, World of Warcraft, and Super Mario Bros. What do Pong, Pac-Man, Tetris, Super Mario Bros., Doom, and World of Warcraft have in common? They're all Hall of Famers. The Strong National Museum of Play this week, named the 6 games as the first inductees into its Word Video Game Hall of Fame in Rochester, New York. The games were selected from a roster of 15 finalists that also include Angry Birds, FIFA, The Legend of Zelda, Minecraft, Oregon Trail, Pokemon, The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Space Invaders. The games in the inaugural class span multiple decades, countries of origin, and gaming platforms, but all have significantly affected the video game industry, popular culture, and society in general, the museum said in a statement. The oldest of the pack is Pong, which hit the scene in 1972 and arguably launched the video game industry. The museum said, 1980's Pac-Man effectively pushed video games forward as a mass cultural phenomena, while Tetris, first launched in the Soviet Union in 1984, has traveled to every corner of the globe, selling hundreds of millions of copies across various platforms. Then came Super Mario Bros. In 1985. Thanks to Mario's infectious personality, the title helped to reinvigorate the struggling video game market. 1993's Doom also had a huge impact on gaming history by introducing the idea of a game engine, separating the game's basic functions from other aspects such as artwork, encouraging multiplayer interaction, and popularizing the first-person shooter genre. More recently, World of Warcraft, first launched in 2004, continued to reshape the way people think about their online lives and communities. Oh, I got words for that. The museum said. The Strong president and CEO G. Rowley Adams said the museum launched the Hall of Fame to advance understanding and appreciation of the impact of video games on culture and society. There's no other video game award and recognition program such as this, which focuses solely on individual game titles across platforms and their impact over time. And across international borders, I almost read that wrong, he added. Electronic games have changed how people play, learn, and connect with each other, including across boundaries and cultural geography. Now, you can't be wrong with the titles being posted here. Although I do have my own 2 cents about some of them. First off, I'm going to start with Pac-Man. I'm going by this because of the way I was brought into video games. Pac-Man was my first video game. I can remember this because my mom and dad used to play Pac-Man. They played it on the Atari, I believe, 7800. And it's been a long time since I feel it was like the 7800. The Atari 7800, and of course, this is long before I was born. And mind you, even after I was born, my dad was unstoppable in Pac-Man. He could keep on going, and basically he just kept playing it until he just, stopped playing. He actually beat my mom in Pac-Man, and how I remember this to this day is uncanny. My first brush with Pac-Man was when I went to Louisiana when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and we had a stopover in Houston. Now, in Houston, they had an arcade. My mom took me to this arcade, and my first brush with Pac-Man was with Miss Pac-Man. I didn't know how to play the game, so of course, I lost a round of lives because I don't know the first thing about playing Pac-Man, except by watching my parents play. So therefore, my mom taught me how to play Pac-Man. And even though I didn't do good, I lost to her, but still, I knew how to play a game which I had no idea how to play. Of course, after seeing this, I also had in my room, I had a couple of mini arcade games such as Pac-Man, Galaxian, and Cobra Command. And that's how I kind of got into playing video games. I play games like that with the dual joysticks. Anyway, I do remember very, very well when I was about maybe 5 or 6. I played Pac-Man on that little console there, that mini arcade, and I gotten better at it. Then, as I grew older, I played regular Pac-Man, and then after that, then I played Miss Pac-Man on the Sega Genesis, and then there was another game. I remember. I totally remember. It was technically it was Galaxian. It was Galaxian. I remember playing Galaxian, and then I soon played Galaga, and then after that, the last game that I actually had, and it was on a Tandy. If anybody can remember a Tandy, the last thing I actually had was Cobra Command. And like I said, I didn't even know about the history of every game I played. All I knew was, it's a little video game I can play. And this is long before I had Nintendo Entertainment System. Because back then we only had two consoles. One is the Atari, and the second was a Texas Instruments computer. Moving on, Pong. Pong really did put video games on the map. If Pac-Man was a pioneer that just said, here, this is what we bring to the table, Pong is the one that just said, here, this is a video game. You have fun with it. Now, mind you, I've never played Pong. Of all the games I've ever played in my lifetime, I've never played any variation of Pong. And I do believe there's one Japanese game that I know that has a variation of Pong. And it's called Kyoryu Sentai Z Ranger for the Famicom. I remember that very well because you played as Dragon Caesar and Daijin, and you were basically it was like, you were playing Pong. And the thing was, the ball was a bomb, and you had to basically defend it. You basically had to defend it while you're trying to hit your opponent. So it played just like Pong. I mean, there are other variations, but I can't remember them all that well. So therefore, Pong has played many variations in a few games. Some you may recognize, others not so much. Okay, next, 85. 85, Super Mario Brothers, 1985. Super Mario Brothers. That was my first Nintendo game. I believe when I was 8. Well, I think when I was 5 or 6, I was a little older then. I remember it so well because my dad, God rest his soul, he took me to Fedco on my birthday. And most people don't remember, Fedco is an old store that we used to go, and it was in Culver City. Now, my dad took me down there for my birthday, and what he did was he basically took me to the game department, and he just pointed out, pick whatever you like. So I got a Nintendo Entertainment System, and the first game I ever played was Super Mario Brothers. The thing about that when I was young is that I had echolania. I couldn't really play the game with sound because echolania, when you hear one sound, it kind of doubles from one ear and out the other. So like you can hear it normally, but in one ear, but out the other it doubles. So it's like I couldn't really listen to it. So I had to turn the sound down. So after that, after I went and got myself healed for that, I started enjoying video games with sound. I mean, I remember I played Super Mario Brothers with the sound turned down. I played Bad Dudes with the sound turned down. Because I think what kind of got me was when I heard, I'm bad, I turned that down. And that to me was my first time I felt a video game was talking to me, and like, it's like, I heard, I'm bad, and I'm like, oh. And mind you, I'm a kid. This is me. I'm reminiscing the fact that this is my first initial reaction to a video game when it talks back like, I literally jumped. Seriously, I literally jumped, and it was just crazy. I technically just wondered. I just like, I really was just wondering why did it talk? And like I said, I didn't know about the fact that it was based off an arcade game until I went to a video store and saw the title. It said Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja. I went to an old arcade. I went to an old video store. I forgot the video store's name. I doubt it was Omni Video because it was something else. I forgot the name's title, but it's called. I saw it there, and it was like, oh, here's Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja. And mind you, I'm a little bit older than, maybe about 10 or 11 years old. And I remember playing this day, and I saw that, and I'm like, this is the same game I have when... I said, this is the same game I have. Except it's on the arcade game. It's an arcade game. Those were the days, though. Those were the days in which I loved video games, even though I had a slight disability around video games. Now, years later, when the Game Boy came out, Tetris basically became a part of the set. I remember it because I had a whole lot of Game Boy titles. I remember fondly about Game Boy titles because during my junior high years, I had a case, and you can hold in this case, you could hold a Game Boy and a couple of games, at least 3 or 4 games before you closed it. You could also put in like your plugs and whatnot, but it is like they had like a skin for it. Like you had to put it in, slide it in there, and just closed it. That's what you could do. Now the thing here is, I had like at least 12 games, and I can remember half of that lineup of Game Boy games. I had, of course, Tetris, Dig Dug, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, Alleyway. I never had Super Mario. I never had a Super Mario game. I just only had Alleyway. I think those are the only. Oh yeah, I had Pokemon. I had Pokemon Blue. I remember that. I think those are the only games I ever had for Game Boy. Because I really didn't have that many selections as far as Game Boy is concerned. Now to this day, on my channel, if I need to, I will play a Game Boy game every now and then. But Game Boy games, Game Gear games, they're so rare. They're so rare for me to play because, like I said, when having a mini console like that, I really didn't have much choices. I mean, I had more choices on the Game Gear than I had with Game Boy. In the Game Gear, I had like mainly Sonic games. I had Sonic Triple Trouble, Sonic Chaos, Dragon Crystal, Arch Rivals. I had quite a few. I'm just naming off the few that I remember off the top of my head, and I'm putting Game Boy and Game Gear in the same category because believe it or not, Game Boy and Game Gear actually had really good games equally. But the thing is, with me, at that age, around 13, 14ish, I really didn't have much to choose from, let alone, let alone what to get for myself. Because, I was basically a bookworm. I'm still a bookworm to this day, but still. Oh, man. Game Boy and Game Gear. I remember those. I remember that too well. I probably would do like a Game Boy game or a Game Gear game, but like I said, I really don't have that much choice to choose from because I really just didn't have that much. Yeah, I had Game Gear when I was in high school. I mean junior high. It was either high school or junior high. I believe it was high school. Junior high to high school. Yeah, it was in high school. My early years in high school. And I remember plain as day, I had like a plug because the downside of the Game Gear was it was a battery hog. You put in 6 batteries. You only played that. You could only play that sucker for at least 30 minutes, because after that, then the light would turn from green to red so fast. So that's something, that's something that you couldn't really play. You basically needed the adapter just to play for like hours and hours on end without stopping. I still actually have my Game Gear, to be honest. I think I have my Game Boy, but mainly I have my Game Gear. The thing is, there's nothing there. I don't really have all my games. They're all gone. They're all gone. They got waterlogged, or something happened. Now next we have the first-person genre, namely Doom. Growing up into video games, and this is later down the years, the first-person genre was crazy. Even to this day, it is crazy. Because, first off, honestly, instead of Doom being there, Wolfenstein 3D should be there. Because that was the precursor for Doom. I mean, if there was one thing I could change out of this whole list, it would be switch Doom out for Wolfenstein. And I remember plain as day, I never did like first-person shooters. Because there were so many of them. And I don't know, I just had this disdain for them. Like, okay, it's a first-person shooter. I'm going to go through a maze. I think that's what it was. I was going through a maze, and the fact is, you could easily get lost if you didn't know what you were doing. I can attest to this day that after playing the Lone Ranger, that's when I just basically just said, I can kind of respect that. I mean, that's one of the games that we tend to play a lot of. I mean, as a group. I mean, mainly the guys. We actually play like Payday 2. We used to play Borderlands 1 and 2 to hell and back, but then we kind of got tired and had to uninstall it. So, because we've beaten the game like multitudes of times. It's almost like with Final Fantasy 7. But the thing is, when you play a game multiple times expecting a change, it's not going to work. Especially this day and age, it's not going to work. Unless you play in something different that offers a variety of change, then it possibly will work. Otherwise, otherwise, I'm okay with first-person shooters. Because I remember there was one person that told me I should get away from my comfort zone. That person is Sheena. Because all I did, and you can check out my channel. Mainly my channel had mainly RPGs and very few platformers. And the occasional Phoenix Wright Let's Play. But but there was no first person, no first person shooters on my list. And I remember she likes first person shooters. So she told me one time, you need to break out of the comfort zone. And I think this is long before I had Steam, that I never touched a first person shooter. After I had Steam, I basically got into it. I got into Borderlands. I got into Borderlands 2. I got into Payday 1. And I didn't like the controls. Payday 2, and I got better at it. Then I have another game called Rack. But I always had, then I could, I could say like a year ago I had something like that, or a few months back. But, like I said, I kind of grew into playing first-person shooters, too. Thanks to Sheena, of course. So with that, thank you, Sheena. Not just because of this article, but you made me realize, okay, I need to break away from my comfort zone. So with that, I kind of gotten used to playing first-person shooters. Even third-person shooters like Sleeping Dogs. I got used to playing sandbox games. Sandbox games that actually had me do something. I'm not just going to play a sandbox game just because, oh, you should try this because everybody else is trying it. No, it has to give me something to do. I mean, that's the one thing about me as a gamer. I have to do something. I can't just idle around and just like, okay, leave it to my imagination. No, my imagination gets quite bored if I don't do anything. So it's kind of like, there are certain games you can give me that as long as I have something to do, I can work with it. But if it's something like a program, like say Garry's Mod. Garry's Mod is, to me, is a program. But it to my mindset, it fails to become a game because it's more like, what am I doing? This is my mindset. What am I doing? How am I playing this? Why am I playing this? And that's basically game logic talking to me. It's like, why are you playing this? Do you know what you're doing? No? Then why are you still playing this? I don't know. But again, like I said, it's first person, but still, it's like certain games I'm just not going to get into. It's to me, it's like I like things simple, not complicated. It's just as simple as that. I like things that are simple. Complicated. Simple is easier for me to understand. Complicated, I'm just going to look at you like, what? Yes, we come to number 6. World of Warcraft. Okay, first off, MMOs. MMOs have to be the most crowded, most traffic based games you will ever get into. We have played very few MMOs. We try to get other people in, but they're not interested. Either they don't have the time or they're just not interested. World of Warcraft is one of those games I will back the fuck away from. My first brush with an MMO would happen to be Dungeon Fighter Online. And that's when when I was first introduced to Steam, because it was on Steam, and I remember plain as day that I didn't do so well because it was the first MMO, and plus the guys were playing it more than I were, and I was severely under level. So I felt terrible because I was so under level. I'm like, I can't really play this. I was like the grunt. I was like literally the grunt, because I was like in 20 while the guys were like in 30s or 50s or something like that. I can't remember when. I can't remember exactly, but they were close to it. I remember when the first DFO was on Steam, and it was under Nexon. Um, it technically, I was getting the MMOs, and after DFO 1 went down, then we had to get on. We had to basically travel to another MMO, and the only MMOs we've ever played were the following: Dungeon Fighter Online 1, L-Sword, Vindictus, and I do believe now we have Dungeon Fighter Online 2. It's still Dungeon Fighter Online, but this is this is taking place after the first game got the first game got cut. So I like how Dungeon Fighter Online 2 is, because they basically worked in a story within the first, around the first game, at the end of the first game. So it's like fragments of the first game are within the second game. So, and by the way, Neil Peoples taking taking control of DFO, and they're much better at it now than they were back then. It's still an OBT, but still, it's pretty good, because now we still have tons and tons of quests to do, but they're not as bad as what you had to deal with in the first game. However, there are certain MMO games that just aren't as good. League of Legends is one of those games. I believe is like I think it's MMO, but it's so toxic. Those are one of those mini games you need to stay away from, because they're toxic. And I'm going to put in detail how toxic it is. The people itself. The people itself sometimes are so terrible. They will throw out racial slurs at you. I can also mention another MMO Not an MMORPG, but an MMO. Killing Floor is another MMO, and all you're doing is killing zombies. In London, they're called Zeds, but still, you're killing zombies. But still, the thing is, there are certain MMOs that are fun, others not so much. I think World of Warcraft is slightly toxic, but not as toxic as League of Legends. Now, perhaps, they might be right about World of Warcraft being, about the online community and whatnot. But sometimes I have my doubts, and those doubts, I can't help but just acknowledge them. But then again, like I said, there's so many other titles there are. I would say, out of everything that's there, I could also say that if I were to replace certain games, I wouldn't replace Pac-Man or Pong or Super Mario Brothers or Tetris. I replaced Doom with Wolfenstein 3D because that was the first game. World of Warcraft is kind of hard because, well, if I had a choice to swap out World of Warcraft for something else, I would take The Sims. Either The Sims or SimCity. I would swap that out with Sims. Because either, anything done with The Sims, most people get very, very much creative with The Sims. I can admit to that. It's the same thing with SimCity. You can become so creative with SimCity and The Sims. Anything with Sim in it, you can actually become very creative with it. But I'm not talking about Farm Simulator or Goat Simulator or any kind of those other whacked out, very weird, very strange sim games. I'm talking about original sim games. I'm talking about The Sims, SimCity, SimCity 2000, Sim Earth, Populous. Anything that gives you command of something or how you want to do this, that's something I don't mind doing. I mean, to me, I can do that with SimCity. I like SimCity more than I like, say, Terraria or Minecraft. Because you don't really need to have that much time on your hands just to make one thing. I mean, for me, that's the reason why I couldn't get into Minecraft or Terraria. Because it requires time and energy. I do not have the time nor the energy to play a game in which all I'm going to do is constantly dig for stuff. Or if I'm not digging for stuff, I'm doing something else. If I'm trying to build something, I say, if you want me to build something, give me something like Sim City, Sim Earth. I take that. And now they have this new game coming out called Lego Worlds, and it's done in the form of Minecraft. And I think some people are, I think now, what I honestly feel about the online gaming community is that there are some people that are so obsessed. They're so obsessed with certain titles that, it's like, it's good that, you like something, but when you get obsessed with it, you kind of draw away, you kind of draw away from the people who like enjoying playing games. I myself, I myself should know better than to, not get so emotional. Or if I had a bad day, don't play anything that's like multiplayer until you kind of like tone down from multiplayer. I did that. I actually did that. I actually learned my lesson after that. because the last couple of weeks I've been under a lot of pressure. I've been under a lot of pressure, and just recently, something happened on a block, and that really did get to me. So sometimes I had to really learn myself that I need to keep my head on my shoulders. Because usually I'm not the type to really just get pissed off. But when I get pissed off, it's like I'm a totally different person. Or if I'm upset, I'm a totally different person. Aside from that, I'm a gamer, an author, a teacher, and all-around otaku. So that makes me a gato. A gato. A gato is Spanish for cat, so yeah. I need to be more like a cat. I need to think more like a cat. I need to relax when I need to relax, and play around when I need to play around. I shouldn't, let my personal feelings get in the way of something I enjoy. I mean, if I need to have my personal feelings, I make a video for that. So on top of that, I'm just going to do this right now on camera while I got the chance to do so. But I apologize to every one of my friends for last night. I lost my cool. And with everything that's been going on, I could pretty much say that, please don't be mad at me or upset at me for what I did. Because I did a video previously, and technically I'm to blame for killing the mood, because I've learned my lesson never to do a video game if I'm in a very negative mood. And I constantly kept saying that I'm a nobody, I'm this, I'm that, and it kind of draws away people from watching it. And sometimes, you kind of feel like you don't need to do it, but you had to do it. So I guess what I did was I kind of drained myself of anything negative inside me. I could have done it off camera, but that was my mistake. So I apologize for that. Anyway, I'd like to thank Sheena Marie Bach for sending me this article, because she's been wanting me to do this article, among many other things she's been wanting me to do, like, say, Rayman Legends, and a couple of games that she sent me. Like, I will do Labyrinth Dreams. I mean, Labyrinth Dreams. I'll do Labyrinth Dreams in a much better mood. Let's see. I know there's Rayman Legends, CTH2C, its sequel, I My Girls. There's so many games that she sent me, and I haven't even touched them because I've been so busy with everything else. Oh yeah, she also sent me what was it? No, she sent me Sakura Spirit. I got myself Sakura Angels, and then Ryu sent me Sakura Fantasy. So we're in next game. I don't know. She's probably going to send it to me. But I'm pretty sure it might as well be Akiba Trip. So kind of look forward to that too. I'm actually really looking forward to that. The main games that I have on my wish list, I'm really looking forward to doing them, just because they're different. I'm trying to do something a little bit more different than I'm normally doing. So after seeing this, I kind of realized, as a gamer, I shouldn't be losing my cool. I shouldn't be doing this. I should be more of what I'm doing than anything else. I should be enjoying the games that are sent to me. And there are plenty of games that have been sent to me, but I haven't had time to play them. Or I bought them myself, but I never really played them, let alone finished them. So I'm getting around to doing that. But everything's okay, though. I think after this week, everything should be fine. I should be in a better mindset and everything else. So with that, again, my thanks to Sheena for sending me this article. This article. And if I sound kind of hoarse, I just woke up. So there you go. So with that, I'm going to share this article with the rest of you guys. So tell me what you think should be in this list of various titles. Because I already shared a bit of it. Yesterday, well, in the stream. But I want to hear what you guys think about this. So, drop me a comment or two about what you think should be in the future Video Game Hall of Fame, and I look forward to hearing from you. So until then, take care, God bless, and of course, Tenkai Muso. Have a great and wonderful week, and I'll see you next time with more videos. Until then, I am the Tenkaichi, and I have spoken, and I am out.